Hey everybody, it's Rob here with McDojoLife. Before I get started today, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Ground Shark Coffee and Diamond MMA, because if it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't have these lights on right now or this internet. So thank you guys for sponsoring me. My guest today needs really no introduction if you've been involved in the fight game at all, or even watched a fight, or just heard of the word fight through the history of fighting. Rory MacDonald is on with us today. What's up, dude?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Life is good, brother. Life is good. I'd like to start off with you by saying thank you for following my page, man. That was like the coolest thing ever. I was like going through my stuff one day, and then I looked. I was like, "Oh shit, that's the dude!" And I was like, "That's the coolest thing ever." So I just want to say thanks, man. Thanks for following the page.
I love it, man. I was showing my brother-in-law just a little while ago all your stuff. He loves it.
Well, thank you, dude. Now, question: what made you start the martial arts? Like, what got you into it?
Well, I always liked it. It's from when I was a kid watching the martial arts movies in the '90s. So there was so many of them, and then my dad actually showed me the early UFCs when they came out on VHS. So I was always into it and boxing and stuff, but I didn't get started until I was about 14 when I founded MMA gym. And then pretty much from there on, I was like full, I was all in.
Now, did you study any traditional arts, or it was just like an in general like MMA study?
For the most part, it was just MMA. When I was like, I don't even know, I must have been really young, like 5, 6 years old. I did kung fu for a little bit,
Oh
but
shit!
it was just my parents like getting me out to do stuff. But I really liked it, but they took me out because they wanted to put me in hockey. And
Well, that's a little more close to what you do now. Like, to be honest,
uh,
like kung fu is like it's like hit or miss for me. Like I've been to a couple kung fu gyms that were really cool and they had good instructors, and I had a couple that were just batshit crazy. Like,
I mean, to be honest, I don't even remember. It was like and I think it was probably like an after school program or something. Like it was so long ago, I forget.
yeah, dude. Now you had your first professional fight pretty young, didn't you?
Yeah, 16.
And you were pro at 16.
Yeah, I wanted to just because I like the rules. I was I don't know. I wanted all the like elbows and knees. I wanted everything. So I was a hardcore kid. I wanted. I didn't want to like. I did like some tournaments, like the amateur tournaments, the grappling tournaments, and they had like some striking stuff. But it was like no punches to the head, but you could punch to the body. I always found that really corny. So I wanted the real thing.
Yeah, dude. Like, I think the MMA rules have changed for amateurs just recently about that. Like, before, I think you had to have X amount of fights before you were allowed to do any ground and pound. And now I think they just let him do it. I think just to start, which is, I think is awesome because I think that's a big learning curve for
Yeah,
amateur.
definitely the amateur scene is so much better from when I first started. It would have been good for me. I would have got to like get a lot of experience and try a lot of different things that I wouldn't have in my pro career. But everything went well until I got into the UFC anyway. So I mean, yeah.
You said until you got into the UFC, what was the difference in the UFC?
My first loss was against Carlos Condit, but
Oh
until then
shit.
I was undefeated.
Yeah, that's a hell of a fighter to fight, dude. I mean, dude's talented, man. Didn't he just fight on the last card for UFC?
Yeah, I think he fought Chiesa.
Yeah, and I think did he lose? I think he lost via heel hook. I think.
Submission. They had his
Yeah.
arm behind. He trapped his arm like kind of like a
Oh yes, dude. It was the Kimura kind of thing.
yeah, a one-handed Kimura or something like that. It was
Yeah, dude. I was thinking of the BJ Penn fight. Actually, as a matter of fact, you fought BJ Penn as well, and you beat BJ Penn.
yes, I did. Yeah, I did
So
that.
whenever, go ahead. I'm sorry.
More at the the tail end of his career.
Mm.
So yeah,
You've had like a pretty good pedigree of people that you fought, though. I mean, you fought let's see, Stephen Thompson. You fought Stephen Thompson.
yeah, he beat.
Um,
Yeah.
and which was that weird? Because Stephen Thompson's style is a pretty odd style. Like, was that something you had a hard time with?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have fought him more the way I like to fight. I tried. I made too many changes, trying to adapt to his style.
Mm.
So I mean, it was just one of those things. I prepared wrong and I fought wrong, in my opinion. So it would be nice to get another shot just to see how I feel against him with my strengths, like rather than just trying to fight him with karate style. But
Mm. And
I think
that's, if you've never really
I
done
think I
that
would have tried
before,
to
it's,
wrestle him more. I didn't wrestle him very much, you know. I tried to do a bunch of weird stuff that I'm not used to. But
yeah, it's like I know when Woodley fought him, he brought in like a whole team of like sport karate guys, and which I'm, if I remember correctly, I think you beat Woodley um before, correct? But yeah, he brought in a whole team or whatever. But that's got to be very difficult to like change what you do just because somebody else does something different, you know?
yeah, I mean, it starts small. So I had brought some sport karate guys in, and at the start, we're thinking we wrestle, but you know, it's a snowball effect. You start going down a rabbit's hole of like what he likes to do, and then we start practicing so many defenses to that pretty much ate up 100% of the training focus, and it came out in a fight. And
Yeah, man, that's, you know, like dealing with like lead leg side kicks and lead leg changing of angles with kicks and the dexterity of dealing with a leg like that is, it's fucking hard. Like it's not something that most fighters do. So most fighters aren't used to lead leg attacks, like which might, the side kick could lead into a round kick, that could lead into an axe kick, could lead into a hook kick, all based off of that one angle. And it's very difficult, I can imagine, to deal with just that alone is a whole training camp, I'm sure, of having to deal with issues, you know. But what you said,
Steven's
yeah.
very
And you know, like I'm sure like dealing with like you said, the wrestling and stuff like that is probably maybe the better bet. I really do hope you get another fight with him because I would love to see that fucking fight. I think that would be a great fight to watch, dude.
yeah, yeah, I'd like that. I'd like to have some rematches against my losses, but not holding my breath.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, what do you think about like the dynamic between Bellator and UFC right now? Because from what I can tell, Bellator seems to be doing a really intelligent thing by stepping back, watching the UFC fuck up, and going, "Yeah, don't do that." And then, like, from what I can tell, anyway, is that how it feels to you?
Well, I mean, yeah, they're definitely making they're going their own way about the way they want to run their show. I like it. It seems like they're doing a pretty good job overall. They're doing the best they can. Um, I'm happy being with Bellator. I like the way they run their show better than the UFC runs their stuff. So I'm happy with my decision. Not to say that I wouldn't maybe in the future. I don't know. I'm not closed off to fighting for UFC again, maybe down the road. But right now, it seems like I'm in the better place.
I think so as well. You know, like just me personally, from an outsider's point of view, I don't know anything behind the scenes, but you know, little things like it seems like you guys are allowed to keep your sponsors, um, which financially, I'm sure that helps you out. Am I
Yeah,
correct in that?
yeah, for sure.
You know, I don't know how they run the behind the scenes stuff, like how they take care of you guys and stuff like that, but it seems like they really do give a shit about their fighters, and that's a huge thing, you know?
Yeah, it just seems more just the way they run their operation is just what I'm used to. I mean, UFC now is totally different from when I first came into the UFC. The way they run their show, the new owners and stuff. It's just it's like corporate or something. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, like
And even
well, I
just
think,
the fighters act and stuff, I just find it a little bit over the top for me.
yeah.
So
You know, I think it's great. Like you know, I've been following your Instagram as well, and I noticed that you post a lot about your family and a lot about your religion and things like that. And I think that that's a huge deal for a fighter, in my opinion, nowadays, especially since a lot of fighters put up a lot of bravado. You know, like it's all me, me, me. Whereas I think that your social media reflects who you are as a human being and what you want to portray to people. You know, people who want to be like seen as hot always post like half naked photos of themselves, right? People who want to be seen as like bigger than thou always post pictures of money and cars, but you don't do that. You post a lot of stuff about your family, a lot about religion and stuff like that. And I gotta say, like, kudos to you for that shit, especially nowadays in terms of like what a lot of fighters are kind of, I guess you could say, selling their soul a little bit to try to make a couple extra bucks. I don't really see you doing that. So do you think like the way that you handle things has affected you as a fighter? Like, do you think that you being true to yourself helps you become a better fighter?
Well, I think it makes you a better it makes you a better person, I guess. Just I don't know. I'm just trying to be myself. I'm not trying to put out a false image of myself on social media. I really just don't have the energy for it, to be honest. Um, so, I mean, you could like me or not, and that's I just don't have the energy for social media to put up a fake or a front, and I am who I am, and that's it.
Well, let's see. I think one of the guys here just had a comment, which is pretty interesting. Can you see what I just popped up on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, the biggest thing I noticed is the fighters have a little more respect for one another in Bellator. Would that be agreed, or is it the same shot, different place? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so, or at least they don't feel like they need to have that. They don't feel like they need to shit talk as much as the guys in UFC, because I find the opportunities in the UFC goes to the guy who get the most drama going. So if you can get drama going, you get a big fight. Whereas if in Bellator you win your fights, you get the opportunity. So maybe fighters don't feel the pressure in Bellator to do that.
And that's how it should be, to me.
I mean,
like every sport, like other than fighting, it seems like that's how it works. It's like if you look at baseball, for instance, right? They have a ranking system. They have very specific ways that you have to go down the path in order to get to the World Series, right? And all of a sudden, they don't get to the World Series and go, you know what? This team sucks ass and their ratings are terrible. They've been winning all year, but fuck them. We're going to get the good ratings team. Who's been kicking the shit out of each other in the parking lot lately? Oh, you guys. Yeah. Come on in. You guys get to be in the World Series. Like, that's kind of what it feels like sometimes with the UFC to me. Like, and I'm not bashing them. Like, but at the same time, the ranking system has always been something that's got on my damn nerves,
It's just too central to the way they want to run, like things to be viewed. There's just not a natural course about it. It's just too controlled, and like you said, like kind of like a corporate feeling. And I don't know. It's just not the way it used to be.
Well, what do you mean the way it used to be? How was it for you?
Well, how could I say this? I don't know. It's really hard to put into words to everything. I mean, because a lot of it is behind the scenes, I guess. The way you're talked to when you're looking for fights, you're trying to you book yourself a fight. I think it's a lot different now. No one really gives a shit anymore unless you're making them money. There's it's a strange thing. I don't know. I feel like the prospects now is more about like your celebrity, what can your celebrity bring to the table, rather if you can really bring it in the cage.
Yeah, definitely. Like you have it, like, to me, your presence in the ring is much different, I guess you could say. Like, a lot of guys kind of carry their presence with them everywhere. To me, and I could be completely off base here, but to me, it seems like you have a switch and you're able to flip it. And then, on the outside, in your day-to-day life or whatever, like, we haven't super interacted in your day-to-day life or anything, but it just seems like you're a pretty quiet, reserved kind of dude, pretty chill, laid back kind of guy. Like I said, seem to care a lot about your family, care a lot about your religion. But then it seems like whenever you get into the ring, it's almost like that kind of nickname that you now have, the Red King, kind of comes out a little bit, because your nickname back in the day wasn't Red King, if I remember correctly. What was your original nickname?
The Water Boy.
That's a big jump, dude. What made you change from the Water Boy to the Red King?
Well, I got it back when I was a teenager, like doing martial arts with my buddies at the gym, and they thought I sparred like as if like I was the water boy from the movie, the Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, like you just like snapped and that was you all of a sudden, just like
Yeah,
full
like I
on.
would just go crazy or something. So I hated the name. I really did. And so I wanted to change it. I ended up changing it a bunch of times, but the Red King seemed like it fit. So I haven't changed it since then.
That's a
Uh,
great nickname,
it's
dude.
just like a ring name, you know. I don't put any weight on it or anything like that. But
I don't know. Like I've always wondered that because from every fighter that I've ever seen, most of them who didn't have a giant ego, they were given their nickname. Because most fighters who don't have a nickname, they just don't have a nickname and they just are who they are. But unless they have a giant ego and they're like, I'm theshit.com Stevenson. Like did you make that up? Because no one's calling you that. you know. But I got given a crappy nickname when I was kickboxing. My coach called me Noodle, and that had to be my damn nickname. And I
yeah,
was like the worst.
that sounds familiar.
I was like, you couldn't give me something cooler like Noodle. This is some bullshit, dude. like
I didn't
I
know
was, but yeah, dude. Like so I to me every time I think of your nickname, the Red King, I think about your fight with Robbie Lawler. And
that.
I think about, I think there's a bobblehead now of you like that, actually. That moment where you're in the ring and y'all
I actually
beat.
have it right here.
Oh, you got the bobblehead? Dude, can you show people? Or is it like kind of put up?
Yeah, it's right here. It's in the box they gave me.
Dude, the bobblehead is awesome. It looks exactly like you looked at that very moment in the ring. Dude, that's the picture I think about every time I think of the Red King. That is the coolest damn thing ever.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They gave me a bunch of them.
Dude, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing, like how realistic that damn thing is.
yeah, it is. They did a really nice job.
Uh, but yeah, like that fight, like I have to say, I ever since I saw that fight, I had so many damn questions about like what was going through your mind because y'all went to war. It was a fight. It was a hell of a fight.
Yeah,
So kudos to both of you guys for that because that was one of the most entertaining fights I'd ever seen. But like when you went, because you guys went all 5 rounds, and I think in the fifth round there was a stoppage.
yeah, I stopped because my nose was just. I basically I gave up. I was too exhausted, and my nose was giving me too many problems. And the ref stopped it.
Yeah, man. Did you have a moment like before that where you were like, "Damn, this sucks ass," like, or were you were like excited for the war?
No, not really. I was really excited when I had him hurt in the third because I was like suffering from like when my nose broke all the way until he stopped me. So it was a real battle of your will to push through it, you know?
Yeah, and like I'm not the only one who thinks this, but Adam says like it was the greatest fight ever, and I
Yeah.
have to say, out of my favorite 5 fights in the history of fighting, like any sport, by the way, sport, karate, boxing, kickboxing, whatever, that was probably up there. That was probably like my top 3. It was incredible to watch, and you're right, it was a war of attrition, dude. It was basically just whoever's going to stay standing and keep throwing, man. And I got to say kudos to you, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And then somebody has a question here. So Lloyd, let's see what he has to say. He says, so what's the opinion on that subject? Do you both feel you need a switch that can be turned on and off? I know my opinion on it, but love the input from current fighters. So I guess what he's talking about with the switch is like your attitude inside and outside of the ring.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at this point in the stage of my career, it's my job. Um, and I like to get away from it when I'm not, when I'm not fighting. But sometimes it's also hard because you get so comfortable with your outside life from fighting. So I've had a couple experiences where it's like you get into the cage and you're not really hungry or you're not really in zone, the proper zone. So that's a tricky question. If it would be my way, I could have a switch that I could hit every time and be like, okay, go into hunt mode and do your thing. But it comes from, a lot of hard training that requires a ton of mental focus and hunger inside your heart to go out there and be in that hunt mode when it comes down to that night. But not every night that happens. Sometimes you put in the work and maybe you weren't focused on that fight. Maybe you're focused on something going on in your life. And when that moment comes when you're both in the cage looking across from one another, you're thinking that you don't really feel like being there. And that sucks. Because you can't do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, definitely. Like, have you ever had like a fight that stands out in your mind that you were like, you just felt like you were not 100% focused?
Yeah, a bunch. I felt like that in my last fight against Skagard Musasi.
What do you think was the issue?
I've said it before. I think that my focus was off during the training camp. I just didn't prepare myself. And I think both physically and mentally, I just was a bit lazy, got a little comfortable, and didn't give it the respect it deserved for that situation.
Now, do you feel like now we talked about the ranking for UFC, and I think that the ranking system for Bellator is a much more stable system, I guess you could say, more reliable on when you're going to get your fights and how the path will go. Do you think, is it probably 2 more fights for you before you're allowed to go back for the title? Or do you think it's probably a rematch immediately? Or I don't know how any of that works for Bellator. So
for the middleweight thing, I'm not sure. Right now, I'm just, because I got like absolutely destroyed in that fight, I'm not really thinking about it middleweight anytime soon. So I'm going to focus on welterweight. I have this tournament to do. And, I'm going to just see what happens after that.
Now, the tournament, is that like that an MMA tournament or?
Yeah, so Bellator's doing their welterweight Grand Prix.
Oh, sweet, yeah.
So,
that's cool.
Douglas Lima already won. He's in the semifinals. He'll fight the winner of Paul Daly and Michael Bennett Page. And then Ed Roos and Neiman Gracie fought. Neiman beat him, so Neiman will fight the winner of me and John Fitch.
Oh, dude, that'll be a good fight, man. Are you excited about that, or you feel like you're prepared for it, unlike the last time?
Well, I haven't started my training camp. We still haven't got the official date. I've been waiting around till holidays to get the news on when that will be, but we'll see. I do think that I have what it takes to put him away. I think I have what it takes to win this whole tournament, in fact. So, yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting. Like, I think out of all those that you listed, I think what I'd really like to see at the end is probably you versus Michael Venom Page. I think that would be a very interesting fight.
I'd like to, because I've already fought Paul Daly and beat him. I already fought Douglas Lima and beat him. So, I mean, if there's one guy on the other side of the bracket that's still in it, I'd like to fight MVP. But, I mean, may the best man win.
Yeah, definitely. Because it'll be interesting to see the dynamic, because MVP, Stephen Thompson, Raymond Daniels, all those guys coming up through the NASCA and the WACO circuits as sport karate and kickboxing guys, all very similar styles. So it'd be very interesting to see you being able to make the adjustments in your training camp versus MVP that you already kind of have experience with as fighting Stephen Thompson. So that'd be kind of a huge deal. Yeah. It's almost like a second chance, an opportunity to fight a sport karate guy again.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've been pretty focused on fighting with my strength since I got over to Bellator. So, if I could just carry that through, I think it would go very well.
Mm-hmm. Now, it was funny because, I guess looking at the way that guys carry them, again, I'm always on social media, obviously, but looking at the way guys carry themselves on social media, a lot, you know, obviously UFC doesn't really allow outside sponsorships for their fighters anymore. Everything since the Reebok deal has been pretty much Reebok. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, when they're not representing the UFC, I'm pretty sure that they can do whatever it is that they want outside of the UFC, from what I can tell anyway. But for you on your social media, you right on your profile, it says your sponsors, right? So who sponsors you currently?
Monster Energy, Everlast Boxing, Bipro is Bipro USA and Bipro Canada. They're basically a supplement company.
Hmm.
And who else am I sponsored by? I think that's it right now.
Yeah, you were able to fit them all on there on your Instagram, which is pretty impressive usually for Instagram, because they give you like only a little bit of time, a little space, and they're like,
Yeah,
fit everything you want to say.
Concert that I'm with right now. I get sometimes like patch sponsors on my shorts. They're not like monthly sponsors throughout the year, so they'll just like sponsor me for putting the logo on my banner and my shorts or my walkout shirt, things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are the sponsors that I have to say throughout the whole year.
Cool. Now, before I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, because I think we've been on here for about 30 minutes or so already. But I'd like to just talk a little bit about for your thoughts, because obviously I'm really big about trying to keep martial arts legitimate. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are frauds and shysters who are taking advantage of people who just don't know any better, you know, because people who never done martial arts before, they don't know what it is that they're looking at. They're not educated yet because they haven't been in there. So do you have any thoughts or comments about maybe what my particular page does? Do you think that it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Are you indifferent? Are you just laughing at these people? Does it piss you off? Anything like that?
Your page?
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think it exposes a lot of people for, obviously in like a comedic way. I mean, from a guy who's experienced, I look at it and I like, obviously I can't take it serious because I know it's not real. But on the other side of it, you can look at it as being pretty sad that these people are so in deep being fooled, you know. I'm sure they're, you know, to be that, to be able to like get someone do a dim act and you fall over and act unconscious, I'm sure that has repercussions of how your life goes outside of that gym. I feel like if you're able to let someone do that to you, it's probably going to translate into a bunch of things in your life. So it's kind of sad to see. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just kind of judging from the outside on that. But it'd be nice to see people with a more realistic view on things with the martial arts, because they were always meant to be used in real situations, for military situations. You know, it's, you know, to, you know, people sometimes don't like when I say this, but martial arts are meant to hurt people. Whether you're defending or what, you're at war or whatever, you know, they're meant for you to kill your opponent or disable them so you don't get hurt. Hurt him and don't get hurt. So that's the use case for it. And the fact that people they're so like into this wizardry in martial arts, it's crazy, because I don't know, someone that's just my whole martial arts journey, I think I didn't get a black belt I didn't get a belt period until like my coach honored me with one after I beat PJ Penn. But I never focused on it. I didn't care about belts. My whole focus was, I just want to be able to kick ass if I needed to. You know, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, you're a fighter, dude.
Yeah, and even when I was like 15 years old, that was my mentality. I don't need something around my waist to tell me, to tell other people how tough I am or how good I am. I want the way I do things to speak for themselves. So, it'd be nice if people had that same philosophy when it came to training martial arts.
Yeah, I think that's, I think what that does is it kind of takes your ego out of your training a little bit. Like I think that a
Yeah.
lot of people, it's funny. I've been around for about 21 years training in different martial arts and things like that. And one thing I've noticed about going from different studio to studio is that you walk in, and a lot of studios have this shit, by the way. It'll say one or two things on the wall. One, it'll say leave your ego at the door. Sometimes it's written right above the door. Or two, it'll say this is a black belt school, which is a hilarious paradox to me, because if you walk into the studio, it says, leave your ego at the door. Meanwhile, over there, it says, this is a black belt school. It's like, well, do you want me to have to like represent that, or do you want me to represent this? I don't get it, because I can't do both at the same time, dude.
Usually only the leaders get to have the ego.
Unfortunately,
it happens all the way into the best. It even happens in MMA schools where it's legit martial arts. It's just like, it just happens. I don't know what it is, but people can't help themselves.
Yeah, man.
I'm probably guilty of it at some point in my life too, but I mean.
Well, I'm of the opinion that I think that every fighter has to have a little bit of an ego, because let's be honest, if you ever walk into the ring truly like honest with yourself 100% of the time, and you don't bring that ego in to help you, then probably you'd walk into the ring going, you know what, I think that guy might be actually better than me. Like, this is gonna suck. You don't want to walk into a fight like that. That'd be terrible.
That's funny. True humility.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not actually all that. What the fuck am I doing here? Like, hey guys, I think I'm done. I think I'm out. Like, he won. Like, and I'll tap early.
I've had that thought that still went in.
You have had this thought before, huh?
Sure. Probably most of the time.
Do you think that affected you negatively in your fight, though?
No. Sometimes,
really?
Sometimes it's just you have to push yourself to. Well, you have to learn. It's also about learning who you are when it comes down to it.
Mm.
Because when people tell you that this person is so much better than you are, or your mind maybe lies to you, you're not that good. He's gonna be better than you. It's about finding that out for yourself, finding out who you are when it really gets down to the nitty-gritty. Which is the beauty about fighting and competing.
I think that's the best part about competing. Like, I was never competitive, but I love to compete, if that makes sense. Like, if I ever lost, I had guys who were on the kickboxing team I was on who would throw their shit across the room. They wouldn't talk for the rest of the weekend if we were out of town somewhere. They'd throw temper tantrums and stuff. And I was never that way. Like, if I ever lost, I was just like, eh. Like, oh, cool. If I ever won, unfortunately, I was the same way. I was like, cool. Like, I move on with the day. Like, it was almost like constant sparring is what I would consider it like. It was like no matter what the trophy or the event, it was just like, cool. I guess that was fun. All right, now where do we eat? Because I want a beer. Like, there's just, I don't know. That was just always my mentality. I guess that's why I never got any better than I really was, because I don't think I had that drive.
You probably had a more stable mindset than most fighters, because it's a roller coaster. People like the fight life.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are kind of off the rocker, dude. But I think this is therapy. It's therapy through physical violence, and it helps people stabilize their lives, especially if their lives are shit. They go in the ring and they have control of something for once in their life. They're in control of something, and the outcome of the fight really is their work ethic, how hard they put in the gym, the time, the effort, the dedication. And there's only one person standing in your way, whereas every other time of your life, everything seems to be standing in your way. And now it's just one dude, It's like you can ball all that bullshit up and just toss it at that guy and be like, hey, you're the reason that I got grounded when I was a 10. And the guy's like, I don't know you. Like, ow. But, I always like to ask at least one more question before I get you out of here. It's kind of one that I always find the most interesting. Because over the years, of course, being in dojos and studios and stuff like that, you always run into crazy people who come into the studio, incidents that happen, people who don't know what they're doing, or even mentally handicapped people who come in who aren't all there. So they come in and challenge people. Do you have like a specific story from the dojo that kind of sticks out to you that most people might not necessarily know, that maybe somebody came in who needed to be checked, you know, maybe somebody came in who like acted a fool or anything like that?
Oh, there's a ton. More so when I first started getting into martial arts, MMA was still pretty like dark ages, I guess, compared to now. So like 14 years ago, there was all kinds of craziness that would walk in the door. But one that sticks out, just that pops into my head right off the bat, there was one guy. He made several appearances in the gym. He would never wear a shirt. I never seen him wear a shirt. He was ripped. He was really he wasn't a big guy. He was a small guy, but his muscle tone was just absolutely like crazy. Every muscle popped out on this guy, but you could tell he was like a drug addict and probably a criminal, and like definitely like made an appearance in a psych ward or something at one point. But like anything that he walked past, he had to punch it. He had to. So like whether it was a pole like that held up the ropes on the ring, the fence, anything, he would have to hit it. You'd have to strike it. You know, if there was ropes hanging down, he'd have to like hit it. Yeah, he was intense. The way he like would jump rope would be eccentric. Everything was eccentric, you know, and intense. Everything was intense and like, yeah, there's all kinds of nut stuff that used to happen back then. But I find not so much now. The gym I was like Toshido, where I started training mixed martial arts and still train. It was a really small gym at first, in like a very small corner of this town, Kelowna. So people would just kind of like stumble in, not knowing what it was, and obviously like, or they phone up or they email my coach who owned the place, and they would say they'd come from some wacky martial arts and they want to do a dojo challenge or something. Like, if you want funny stories, like my coach Dave has the best. I love hearing his old school martial arts stories. He's got the best.
Dude, I'd love to hear his stories.
Yeah, his email history is amazing. The emails this guy gets is out of hand.
Yeah, I'll take all the stories I can get, man. Just DM me his stuff, and I'll hit him up, and I'll see if he'd be willing to come on, because that's my favorite stuff. I love hearing stories from the dojo because they are the craziest, and most of the time, like if anybody had a regular day job, they would never see this kind of stuff because it happens all the time. And I agree, it did used to happen a lot more, and I think the UFC, MMA has kind of helped that, because now I think people are aware that they probably shouldn't go into studios talking shit. Like, you know.
I'll send him. I'll DM your Instagram account to him and tell him to send you a message, and or I'll send you his profile, and you could DM him if for an interview or something. He would be down.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to hear those stories, man.
He's a good interview.
Cool. Now, before we head out, is there anything that you maybe you wanted to plug, or is there anything you wanted to say? Last final thoughts, final words, anything like that?
Not really. I appreciate it. I appreciate your page. It brings plenty of entertainment and exposes a lot of frauds. So keep it up.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot, man. I'm working on it hard. People seem to really enjoy you, dude. You know, there's a lot of, basically, like, the reason I haven't clicked on a lot of stuff down here is like there's just a ton of people just saying like how fucking awesome you are. Honestly, I was like, I'd be here clicking all the time if that was like they were talking about like the stare down between you and Robbie Lawler. Like, you know, a lot of people like really love your stuff, man. They want to see you back in there. So I'm really excited. Whenever your fight's coming back soon, whenever you're coming back up, just let me know and I'll make sure that I advertise it. I'd love to get as many eyeballs on your fight as possible, dude, because you're awesome. So keep it up, dude.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Well, hey, I'll let you go. You have a fantastic weekend, and I guess I'll see you on Instagram, dude.
Sounds good.
All right, dude.
Bye, guys.